Hello everyone, welcome back again. So as the year draws to a close, I thought I'd put this video together and answer some of the main questions we've been receiving throughout the year. And to be honest, most of them have revolved around where we found the super cheap auto Falcon, what's involved in buying an old V8 Supercar, and where we find them. So I thought I'll put this video together and answer some of these questions, which runs through the due diligence we did when we bought the car several years ago, and where we've ended up with it today. I hope you enjoy. So I actually found the car entirely by accident. It popped up on an advert on a well-known automotive auction website, and it was advertised, and I started to get looking at the photos, and I was able to ascertain that the Ellerys ran two AU Falcons between 2000 and 2002. And some of the photos in the ads showed the 2001, the 2000 and 2002 livery. So I wasn't 100% confident that that information was correct. So I managed to get hold of the logbook after contacting the company and was able to ascertain through the logbook entries that this in fact is the car that won the Sandown sprint race in 2000, which is really exciting because I was there that day with my dad as a teenager, and I felt a bit of a connection with the car because, as everyone knows, 2000s or early 2000s as a Ford fan, it was a tough time, and an AU Falcon winning a race was nothing short of a miracle.
Here at Sandown.
8 in the top 12 if you look at it. That's incredible.
Well, this is the way V8 racing should be, isn't it? Ford and Holden evenly matched, going at it hammer and tong, door to door. This is absolute breathtaking stuff.
I think Steve Ellery's saying the same thing, Mark, at the moment. This is the way it should be.
One of the best circuits in the country. It's known as a horsepower track. 3.1 kilometres. Absolutely thrilling stuff. The crowd spellbound by this performance by Stephen Ellery. He's come out of nowhere, and he's doing an amazing job out here. Defending hard from Mark Skaife. He's got 3 laps remaining when he crosses the start-finish line this time around. Can he bring it home? Qualifying performance yesterday.
Oh, look at it.
He got himself a good starting position.
Don't forget, lots of things coming up on your home of motorsport. One of them, the Honda Indy on the Gold Coast, the 14th and 15th of October. And that's not all. We've got some two-wheeled entertainment for you as well. So we head to the island for the final of the Motorcycle Grand Prix, and the big one, the FAI 1000 at Bathurst, the 18th and 19th of November. That should be sensational if we use today's racing here at Sandown as any basis or judge of that.
Well, these cars are very evenly matched, aren't they? There is nothing in this. The AU XR8 Falcon and the VT Commodore, they are absolutely evenly matched around Sandown Park. 1 lap remaining for Stephen Ellery. He brings it onto the pit straight once again. The Rat goes for his inside line, but not enough real estate there to make a move on Mark Skaife. So positions remain static. Maximum pressure here for Stephen Ellery.
If he can just keep it off the curves on the straight
At the moment. This is, oh, look at this up in front. Skaife having a look at Ellery. He must have had a moment. Coming out of that Eastern Nats corner. He's been getting sideways out of there on a couple of occasions. The Rat's still in contention too. Hard in the mouth stuff.
There's Steve's mum watching on. Absolutely everything crossed.
Oh, dear.
Fingernails being bitten off. This is just breathtaking. Can he hold it together? Half a lap remaining for Stephen Ellery. Guides it out of there.
Oh,
Good.
look, back marker.
Good departure from XR turn. He's got this final little switch back here to bring it onto the pit straight. He will bring home his first victory.
Looking good.
Shell Championship Series.
Hang in there, Stephen. He's had a good, clean run. The 26-year-old from the Gold Coast, Steve Ellery, breaks through for his first ever Shell Championship Series win. Well done to the team.
Mum can't believe it. I know his father, Bruce, the whole team have worked very, very hard, and they are.
So once we were confident that this was in fact the 2000 Sandown winner, we then moved on to later in the logbook and discovered that the car also ran in 2001. It did a majority of the season in 2001, and it's a lot easier with the Ellery or Super Cheap Racing team, given that they were a one-car team, to work out what results the car had. As an example, if we use FTR3, if you go to the logbook, it says it's entered at, say, the Clipsal 500 or the Grand Prix in Melbourne or any other event around Australia, but it doesn't say what car number it ran as. So all it says is FTR3 ran at an event, but it doesn't say what car number. So trying to get the specifics on a car like that is a lot more involved. The Ellerys, given it was a single car team, if it was entered as an example at Winton, well, we know it ran as car 31 in the main game at Winton. This car's last main game appearance and its main game life ended at the Queensland 500 in the gravel backwards next to the race winner, Paul Radicic, when that massive rainstorm hit very late in the
must
race.
be so bad you cannot stay out there on dry weather tyres. Can you believe this drama toward the end of the race?
Radicic. Very, very heavy conditions. Be careful. The instructions from the pits are, that is obvious, and there has not been a great deal of wet weather racing nor testing here at Queensland Raceway, so this is pretty much uncharted waters.
There's never been a wet race at Queensland Raceway in the 2 years of V8 Supercar competition.
We need some valuable feedback here from the team. They'll need to instruct how much he has over Radicic so he can just calm it down. Stephen Ellery has gone, oh no, whilst in 6th position. 18 seconds. Back it down for Russell Ingall. And apparently the race has been red flagged. Russell Ingall has won.
Well, hang on a minute.
Or it might go back one lap. Mixed emotions.
We saw a similar situation like this when Dick Johnson thought he'd won Bathurst in 1992.
Yeah.
And now he is on the receiving end of the red flag rule.
What an incredible race. Grant Denyer?
Well, Larry Perkins, by your own count.
So we knew at that stage the car's entire main game racing life, but these cars generally have a life after they finished up in the main game. The same logbook again, which is invaluable to try and find this information, shows that the car had a racing life after the main game, and it was entered in the Konica series, and it was driven by a range of drivers, but the most popular and most outstanding finish was the race win at Bathurst in 2002 in the Konica series with Luke Youlden driving. This car was known for some serious straight line speed at Bathurst in 2000 and also contributed to the win at Sandown in 2000. But if you have a look at this footage here, the 2002 Konica race where Luke Youlden won by over 10 seconds, the straight line performance of this car had not diminished over the years.
This is Mount Panorama. They're heading up the mountain right now, and look at this from Youlden. He's challenging Wayne Wakefield.
Big move here. What's the... Oh no!
How dangerous is that?
Oh!
Wow, Luke Youlden just pulled the nose of the Falcon back at the critical time, but he was getting run right into the side of the concrete wall. That was dicey stuff. He's got one more lap to go. 6.2 kilometres of Mount Panorama. He really has been the sensation of this Konica 30-lap challenge. He qualified on pole position 1.1 seconds faster than Wayne Wakefield.
Wakefield's dropped off the pace a long way. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a problem. I haven't seen him come past yet, so he's just come past now.
Yeah, he was hovering around about 2 seconds behind Youlden, but now he's dropped way back.
He's a good little peddler.
He'll be up tomorrow with Tony Longhurst. I was just going to say no for the big one.
2000, I should say, Australian Formula Ford champion. Had a great battle with Rick Kelly throughout that championship. It came down to 1 point at the end of the final round of Ballala, but Luke kept his cool. He did a stint with the Castrol Perkins team, cutting his teeth in V8 Supercars at the top level before being picked up by the Super Cheap Autos team. And I'll tell you, that small family-run team under Bruce Ellery will be delighted with the performance of this young man, just 24 years of age, finished 14th at the Queensland 500.
So at this point, we were comfortable with the car's racing history, both main game and Afterlife. So we're comfortable on the car's valuation. I guess in our instance, it's a little bit different because we're not so much interested in the latest spec components. Originality is a big thing. If you're wanting to buy the car as a competitive race car and it's got the latest parts in it, from a racer's point of view, that's what you're looking for. Where from what we were looking at originality. Now, obviously, the car was transformed into a BA late in 2004 to be used as a ride car, which had stayed in that condition as the car was sold. But we knew a lot of the internals were okay. A lot of the internals hadn't been changed because the car was only a ride car. So we're pretty confident at that point that if we do a good job of the restoration, it would be a really good example of an early 2000s V8 Supercar once finished. So after all this work was completed, it then came down to starting to put a number on the car and placing a bid. I was actually unsuccessful in the auction, and I was contacted a couple of days later by the company that were conducting the auction, wanting to know whether I was interested in the car, as for whatever reason, the sale didn't go through. Over the next few days, I was able to negotiate a deal and take possession of the car with a few spare parts and bits and pieces, and I took delivery of the car late in 2021. Unfortunately, I don't have a huge budget to play with, so I had to save up for the next few years before the car could be started. and it just sat there idle until I could generate enough income and enough of a budget to do the car justice and complete the restoration properly. I also discovered throughout this time that what I was told that would be a few panels here and there and a paint job to convert it back to an AU was going to be a far bigger workload. Nevertheless, it was a challenge. I bought the car sight unseen, so it's a risk you take. So while the car was in storage, we started to stockpile some AU-specific parts. So V8 Supercar, front bar, rear bar, side skirts, just little bits and pieces that we stumbled across, knowing that hopefully over the next 12 months or so, we're able to start the restoration. Once the budget was set and we started the work, we created the Facebook page, and the idea behind that purely was to generate a little bit of awareness on the chassis and just ask if anyone out there had some photos of the car that they took during a pit tour or pit lane, and just showed some of the finer details on the car, like photos under the bonnet, inside the car, in the boot, which a lot of that information was all secret squirrel back in the day, obviously with technology and intellectual property. So trying to find that information is near on impossible. As you know, since then we've been inundated with offers of support. People have donated race-used panels, there's been photos, there's been all sorts of information that we once thought would be an absolute impossibility to get this information. As an example, a race-used bonnet from 2001 was donated back to us to be used with the car. Although we can't use it on the car, it showed us exactly how the bonnet was modified, how the bracing on the inside of the bonnet was trimmed to suit the airbox. As another example, a quarter panel was donated back. It shows us how the panel was modified, where it mounted to the car. So a lot of information that would have been absolutely impossible to try and obtain, we could use purely from these couple of donations. And then other people have donated photos and old emails and setup sheets and all sorts of stuff that we've been able to use to make sure the end product is as accurate as possible. Without your input and without the social media part of this restoration, we would have been guessing, and it wouldn't be anywhere near what it is today. So the last 18 months, we've shared the journey with you, and the car is in the current condition it is today, about 90% complete. We were going to drop the whole cross member out with the engine in it, but decided to separate it all in the car. The only other thing that's a little bit abnormal, you'll see that hose at the back there, that goes out of that bell house, which is not as easy as it sounds. There's a lot of work that goes into them. You've got to lighten them, and there's also electric windows in these AUs and a few bits and pieces as well. So did whatever we had to do. We've tested the fuel pumps, they're all working, so we've put them back in. You may recall these were date coded, dating back to the year 2000, so we want to try and keep as much of it original. It does run. That's literally all we know about it. Unfortunately, there's no kilometre log. There's nothing, no maintenance schedule, so we're flying completely blind. Walls, had a look at the valve faces. Everything looks really good. So the sump was reinstalled, as you can see, and all cleaned up. The cam belt was really sad, so it's been changed. You may recall in an earlier video, the bell housing isn't just a bell housing, it's also an oil tank for the engine. It's all built in. So we've had all that apart, we've cleaned the tank, flushed it all out. It's all come up really well. The engine starts and runs. We've turned the rear wheels, but it hasn't actually turned a wheel as a complete car in anger just yet. We're hoping in early 2025 this will happen. Over Christmas, we hope to get the last little jobs tidied up on car 31 so we can really then focus on getting the car back on a track. We would absolutely love to reunite the car with the Ellery family and would love to see this happen. And if we can pull this off, we'll certainly share this journey with you, because there's been a lot of people asking. We get messages daily from people really wanting to see this happen and asking us where it's going to be driven and who's going to drive it. So once we get to a point that the car's completed and we have options on the table as far as track availability, and if the Ellery family are interested and if they're available to drive the car, we'll certainly share that with you. But it would be fantastic to start 2025 to see the car back on the track with the people that drove it all those years ago. Thanks again for your support. I hope this answers some of your questions, and we look forward to making 2025 a big year, and we'll bring you along for the journey. Thanks again for your support.